have to apologize. I may break out in a sneezing fit. I've been feeling like I needed to go in the last 30 minutes, but nothing's coming out. And I'm one of those annoying guys. When I sneeze, I make loud noises. I like making animal sounds. I like, exaggerating the achoo's. So I apologize, because if it comes, it's coming. And it doesn't get to come once or twice. It's like 5 or 10, 15, maybe, if we're lucky. Last week, we started this new series called A New Direction, and the premise is based on the reality that we oftentimes have intentions. That is, we have goals, we have things that we want to do, we have changes that we want to make, we have places we want to be, we have these ideas, we have these images, we have these dreams of things. But the reality is, oftentimes, they just stay dreams. They just stay thoughts. Changes don't actually take place. We have these intentions to do things, to change something, whether it's to become a better person, whether it's to change certain habits, the whole New Year's resolution stuff. But why is it the case that oftentimes every year rolls around we make the same resolutions? Right? Or throughout the year, you come to these points in your life as you're thinking about things, as you see the reality of where you are, there are these changes that you want to make, but, they never happen, and so you oftentimes finding yourself wanting to make the same changes. The question is, can we stop this cycle? Is there a way to where we can actually have these intentions become a reality? Well, I would suggest to you that there is, and last week we talked about this. While we may have the best intentions will only take you so far. If we actually want to make changes, we have to understand and realize that it's not intentions that determine destination. It's the direction that we go, if you will. Maybe it's the path that you take. And understanding that every choice that you make, every decision you make, every situation you find yourself in, and you determine that you're going to do something, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, that decision is taking you in a certain direction. And you have to realize that sometimes your intentions are not aligned with the direction you're heading. In other words, the direction you want to go is not the direction you're going. What you want to accomplish, the things that you're doing in your life aren't lining up with those intentions. And we know this. We know that intentions will only take us so far. How many times do you find yourself having certain ideas or things that you want to accomplish? You have every intention on doing X, Y, or Z, but you never have it. You never do it. It doesn't come about. We know intentions are not enough. They only take us so far. Intentions are nothing more than a thought. And they remain a thought until we actually do something with that thought, with those intentions. Direction determines destination every time. Jesus knew this. It's a principle which he leveraged, and it's something that he actually taught. He used it in his teaching. We looked at Luke chapter 9, verse 23. We'll go back there today, Luke 9, 23 through 25. We covered verse 23 last week. Notice what Jesus says. And he said to all, if anyone would come after me, these are terms of direction, come after me. In other words, you're going in one direction, and you're going to come after me in my direction. If anyone would come after me, and remember, I mentioned this, in the Greek, the term there is like to be behind his back. Literally, to be behind his back. So, you either are or you aren't. And if you aren't, he says, if you want to come after me, be behind my back, terms of direction, let him deny himself. Literally say no. Just say no. Say no to what? Say no to the direction that I'm going. Say no to the perspective that I have that's taking me in the wrong direction. Say no to all the things that keep me from actually being behind his back, following him. Say no to self. It's the whole dying to self thing. And take up his cross, he says. Expose yourself to death. It's the dying to self, the old person. We're talking about the process of transformation here. Going from who you are, maybe who you used to be, to who you are now, and from who you are now to who you will become. And if you want to follow Jesus, it's becoming like Jesus. It's being transformed into the image of Jesus. He says this, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross, and you do it daily. In other words, every choice and every decision leads in a certain direction. And this is what we must do This is what we must do if we're going to go in the direction of Jesus, which is why he says, follow me. Follow me. Literally to be in the same path, to accompany. If you would, change direction and follow me. Now, if we're going to follow him, right, we have to change our course, change direction. That's balled up in the concept of repentance. Change the way you think. It's a change of mind that leads to a change of action, a change of direction. And follow him. Go in his direction. Any other direction leads you away. Follow him. It is quite simple, is it not? Direction determines destination. And we can have the best of intentions, and we do. We can even have plans. We can even have expectations. But it's the road we have taken that leads us to where we are now and to where we will be, because direction always determines destination. And we need to realize that the path we're on may not take us to where we want to be. Our intentions and our direction may not be aligned. Oftentimes, it's not. And oftentimes, we don't even realize it. As far as I'm concerned, as far as what I've experienced in my own life, as far as what I have seen with others as well, oftentimes what ends up happening is we just submit to the path that life throws at us. We're just floating through life. And we do more responding, and we're less proactive. We just respond from situation to situation. We're just floating through life. And whatever path life chooses to give us, that's the one we're on. That's where we go. Just making decisions and choices and not seeing the connection between the choices that we make and the direction that we're headed and the destination that we want to be. We need to realize the path we're on may not take us to where we want to go. Every moment, every choice, every decision leads us in a certain direction, no matter how small. And it's the small decisions, based on my experience, the small decisions that lead to the biggest changes that we don't even realize. We don't even see them. I mean, what happens is when we sometimes wake up, right? We see where we've come. We realize where we are. And we wonder how we got there. We might even say or think, this is not what I wanted. And that might be true. It may not, it's exactly what your heart does not desire. But again, our hearts might desire something. But what we're doing in our lives may not line up with what our hearts desire. Our intentions and direction may not be aligned. See, you can desire to get a degree, right? But skip class and not do your work. Your intentions and the direction you're headed are not aligned. You can desire to retire at a decent age, but spend your whole life living off of credit and outside of your means, leveraging your equity, assets, etc. You might desire to retire at a decent age, but the things you're doing will not lead to that. We know this. You might desire your kids to find spouses that treat them well, but all they ever see is you mistreating your spouse. You might want to get in shape, right? But you continue the same eating habits that keep you out of shape. You might want to find a good person to settle down with and get married and maybe even have a family, but you continue to sleep with whoever comes along your way. You might want to have a deep relationship with God, but you're still pursuing the things that pull you away from Him. See, you can have all the desires all day long. But until we do the things that make those desires a reality, they're nothing more than thoughts or dreams. Sometimes our desires and the direction we're headed are not aligned. So the thing that you have to ask yourself is, or the things that I'm doing in my life on a daily basis, or the decisions that I'm making, big or small, are they helping me to fulfill my intentions, what I want to do, where I want to go, who I want to be? And this is so important. It is so important to make sure that the direction that you are headed in, is in line with your intentions. Why is this important? Because you can lose entire seasons of your life. You could wake up one day and half your life is gone. Your kids have grown up and you don't have the relationship with them that you want. Your spouse is so distant from you because of how you've treated them the last 10, 15, 20 years. You could wake up one day and realize how much time you have wasted because your intentions are not aligned with the direction you're headed. It is important that we realize the direction that we're going. And too often times, we just simply submit to the path that the world gives us, that life throws at us, and we just take it. When Jesus has given us the best path of all. It always takes us to the best place. And so, is the direction we're going, is that the thing that's going to help us fulfill our intentions, make them a reality? Or are we just submitting to a path that will take us just anywhere? Jesus says all you have to do is submit. Submit to my path and go in my direction. I'm Testament, many of you are. That no matter where he takes you, it's always the best. If you go on and look at what Jesus says in Luke chapter 9, verse 24. When Jesus presents this analogy in verse 23, understanding this was a time when taking up a cross, see, people didn't have crosses hanging in their houses. You weren't wearing it around your neck. It wasn't a symbol of life. It was a symbol of death. And it was a time when taking up a cross had to do with those whom Rome had condemned to death. They would literally carry a cross and struggle with it all the way to the place of execution, like where they would lose their life. It would be taken from them. A person who carried a cross was a person on the way to die, to be taken out of this world. Jesus says, whoever will follow him must be prepared to do this, both literally and figuratively, as soon after Jesus, people found out. So yes, it's not just figuratively, it is literally. And I'm suggesting to you, if you're not willing to figuratively do this, you will never be willing to literally do this. This is a shocking statement. And then he adds, verse 24. Jesus presents a paradox here. And it's not just eternal. See, sometimes we read these passages and all we're ever thinking about is the ultimate end. Maybe when Jesus comes back or after you die, or however you think the end is going to be. But let me suggest to you that if it's true for the end, it's true for the now. If it's true for the end, it's true for now. Notice what he says. For whoever would save his life, whoever would cling to their comforts or things that they perceive as giving them comfort, you would cleave to the things that you perceive as happiness. If you think the cost is too high to lose these things and you think these are more valuable, you want to hold on to this in whatever path you're going down, whatever direction you're headed. Jesus says, whoever would save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life, remember this is the same word for soul, for my sake, will save it. I know there's a lot we can get out of this, but my question is, how do we try and save our lives today? One of the ways we do this is by seeking immediate satisfaction. Quick happiness. That's what we're looking for. Quick happiness. It's the reason why we make the little choices and decisions moment to moment, because we think in that moment, that's the thing that's going to make me feel happy, feel good right here and right now, no matter how big or small it is. We're out looking for happiness. There's a reason why Jesus starts the Sermon on the Mount the way that he does. But instead of seeking those things that are above, that is, what is true, honorable, and just, well, we just want to be happy. The problem is we're seeking it in the things that bring about happiness that, well, it's fleeting. It's the reason we shop for clothes that we don't need, because it feels good to wear something new. It makes us happy in that moment. When you don't need it, but it feels good. It's the reason why we make decisions this way. It's the reason why we have to have the latest and greatest smart devices, right? When the one that we've had, well, works just fine. Because it makes us feel good. It makes us happy in that moment. It's the reason people wake up in unfamiliar places with someone they don't know. Because the night before saying yes made them feel good. It made them feel happy. It's the reason some get in way over their heads with house and vehicle payments, because those things in the moment makes us feel good about ourselves. It makes us feel happy. It's the reason people carry credit for so long that they either forget what they bought or they don't have it anymore. Because in the moment, it made them feel good. It makes us feel happy. It's the reason why I have so many Bibles. Every time a new Bible comes out, it's a new thing. I have to have it. And I only use one Bible. And I have about 50 of them. Because it makes me feel good. Now, I haven't bought one in the past year. We're 7, 8, 9, 14 days in. No, honestly, I bought one Bible last year, just one. And I think it's the one I use. I'm not sure. But in the moment, it makes me feel good for some reason to hold this new Bible. It's a better leather and it's a better Bible. I have my reasons. But I've only bought one last year. That might be the reason why I'm not as happy. Actually, no. Did I? Anyways. It's the reason why we make these choices and these decisions in the moment, because that's what we're seeking, happiness. And we're not connecting the dots with the decisions we're making in that moment to where we want to be in the destination that we're actually going. We don't see the connections at all. And the examples I've given, some of them may be trivial to you, but they all make such a huge impact on us, and we don't realize it. In the moment, we want to feel happy. We want to feel good, but it's happiness today, and it's regret tomorrow. How many people have purchased something and almost immediately after regretted it? In that moment, you were seeking that happiness. But it's fleeting. You're seeking happiness in the wrong things. It's happiness today and regret tomorrow. See, the choices we make will take us oftentimes a place that we don't want to go, a place that we don't want to be. And if you don't want to go there, see the connection between the choices you're making and where you end up. Direction determines destination. Jesus says in verse 25, for what does it profit? These are business terms. Business terms of profit and loss. So what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses, literally destroys and ruins, or forfeits? Another business term. It has to do with sustaining damage to suffer loss. For what does it profit a man if he gains everything that would bring him comfort and happiness in this life, or at least he perceives as bringing comfort and happiness, but yet he ruins himself See, and typically we think of, in the end, loses his soul, but think about it. It's losing all along the way. You're losing yourself, becoming something that God has not intended you to be, not truly human, not something that reflects being made in the image of God being. It's all along the way. For what does it profit? If he gains everything, but loses or forfeits himself. Notice the paradox here. If someone is offered the whole world, everything that they could ever want, what they think is going to bring them comfort, what they think is going to bring them happiness, but in exchange for all this, they would be killed. Is that sensible? No. You would be willing to let go of all the things that bring you comfort and all the things, right, that you perceive that will give you happiness, because what would make you happy in the moment, right, is to save your life. That would make you happy. At that moment, you're not worried about all the things that you might gain, because what's the point? You won't be around to enjoy them. In the same way, it's senseless to continue to submit to a path that will continue to take you where you don't want to be. It makes no sense to continue to submit to a path that countless others have traveled. And we know where the path takes you. And then to think that you're an exception to the rule. See, that's what oftentimes happens, right? Either we say, well, that won't happen to me because somebody has warned us, or we've seen other people and what they've gone through and where they end up, and we think, well, that's not going to happen to me. Regardless, we think we're an exception to the rule. Very few people end up being exceptions to the rule. Remember last week how we talked about how it's funny how we can tell our own future. If we wanted to, we could tell other people's future as well. Because we can see the path that they're on and where they're going to lead us, and which is why we say things like, man, I know where that's headed. I know where you're going there. Or you've had people tell you, son, I can remember this all the time, and I never listened. Son, you are on the wrong path. This is taking you to here, and this is where it's going to happen to you. And I didn't listen. So I guess today's message is a call for us to wake up and pay attention, keep our eyes focused on the road, on the path that we're on. Question ourselves and whether or not the direction we're headed, whether or not that is literally, if we are literally behind Jesus, on the backside of Jesus, accompanying him, joined with him on the path. Or are we just submitting to the path that the world has given us, pursuing those things that we think are going to bring us happiness, but we know good and well that happiness only lasts for a long, little time. And it's hard because we live in a society where we want everything right now, when we want it. We don't want to leave church and go cook, right? What if we said, everybody today, after church, you go home, you cook your soup, and then you bring it? We don't want to do that. You think that's senseless. That's stupid. We want quick fixes. We want things. You see if you're going to join us today for this meal. What have you done? If you intend to be here, you prepared, you planned, you followed. You knew what you needed to do to help get you to where you wanted to be. And it still makes no sense for us to continue to pursue those things that lead us where we don't want to be. See, sometimes what we perceive as happiness points us in one direction, while wisdom, truth, and integrity are pointing us in a completely different direction. We know what things bring us momentary happiness, but we also know how temporary that happiness is. If we submit to the path of wisdom, of truth, of justice, of integrity, submit to the path of Jesus, it's far greater than any other path that you have ever traveled.
any other path that the world will throw at you. Because every time, every other path will lead you to a place where you're going to be seeking another path. You head in the direction of Jesus, it's one and done. It's one way. And it'll always lead you to the blessed place. Submit to his path. You might be seeking after happiness, but it's temporary and it's not fulfilling. Instead, seek after joy that you find in Jesus. Father God, we're grateful for today to be together, to consider where we are in our journeys with you. Help us to submit to your path in every moment, in every decision, every choice. Help us to see, show us, open our eyes, the eyes of our hearts, so we can see the direction that our choices are taking us. And when those things take us away from you and the path that you have designed for us, I pray that you would stir the Spirit up within us, that you would prick our hearts, help us to see, to know, so we can stop, we can listen, make sure we are on the path with you. So open our eyes so that we can see and become more aware. It's in Jesus we pray.